So this guy's arms and hand are fairly large, I noticed, although you can see that there's obviously a disparity between the wing on his left and the big old hand with the thumbs up on the right. But what I've got here, I want to basically fill out the arms a little bit. So they're relatively thick, so I'm going to use a fairly thick piece of clay, and let's see what happens if I cut this in half. I may have to build up some more, especially on that one. There's a bit more arm or armature, as the case may be. So let's try cutting this. Put that on. It should be fine here. And I bet you if I cut that in half, let's try this. I don't think I need quite that much. Well, it is a fairly powerful arm, relatively speaking. So let's wrap this around. Once again, it needs a little bit of, see what happens when this has been sitting for a bit, so it tends to harden up and it tends to kind of crack and stuff. So it pays to keep your clay, what's the word? There was an actual word for this used by the Sculpting people. Let's wrap it and see what happens. It's still cracking. All right. Is that too thick? Maybe it is. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut it. Split it in half. Is that the way I want it to go? Yeah, I think so. Let's cut it in half. I can always build it up. There we go. That cut well, didn't it? Let's try this again. We'll wrap it around. And it's going to require a little bit of smoothing and forming. Let's just see what you guys can see here. Let's use my spoon tool. Get a bit more light on the subject. And I'd like to taper that. Do I have to taper it? No, I don't think so. I'm looking at the picture. It looks pretty good. That forms around there. Obviously, this needs a little bit of manipulation. Just little bits and pieces falling off here. Smoothing with my thumb, and I can smooth with the tool. And of course the stand is getting in the way. Let's turn him around a bit. That's pretty good there. I'm going to brace him a little bit. Oh, I don't want to use that pointy object there because it's probably going to make some interesting marks. Interesting marks that I don't want. And that's pretty good. Let's blend that right into the armpit there. And that's not bad. One arm done. You know, I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking that left arm is a little bit skinnier than the right. So I'm going to build that up a little bit. The beauty of having the clay on there, on the armature, is that you can reposition it. I want him with sort of a cool hands-on hip look or rather one hand on the hip as he's giving the high thumbs up. So I'm going to build this up a little bit. We need a slightly thicker arm. The term for getting the clay in shape is actually called conditioning. So you can see that I've applied a couple of new pieces onto that arm. He's developing sort of an elbow joint, which is kind of neat. Once again, we need to smooth that down, get it all consistent and smooth and seamless. I want these legs fairly skinny, but there's also a bit of a taper to them. So let's see what we can do here. I might have to build it up again. Just a matter of wrapping that. And are those legs too thick? Maybe. Let's see what happens if I squeeze them. Yeah, I want skinny legs, so I'm trying to force this, the thicker part up towards the body. And if I have to, you know what, I could always sand that down a little bit once it's hardened, but probably best to, you know, try to get the basic shape right off the bat. Okay. That's pretty good. And I think, you know what, I think a triangular piece would work best for achieving that thickness here. You figure this stuff out gradually. So I've made this kind of a flange. I've made it wider at one end. And wrapping it around, squeezing it, forcing that up. And once again, I will smooth that. It's hard to avoid putting your thumbnail into this, though, and it's going to leave all kinds of little marks. It's okay. We can fix that. So it's getting there. The next step is building up the shoes. So what I've done is I've cut a couple of pieces here. I'm trying to condition it so it's a little bit more flexible, but I can see that it's cracking. So I need to use the roller on it. Let's see how this works. So I think what I'll do is go lengthwise so I can try to cover the entire shoe. And just wrap it around. There's one foot done. On to the next. Just got a cool idea as far as putting the shape for the shoe on there. Why not cut out a little section here so it just kind of fits over top? It's called Learn As You Go. Now that's pretty neat. Okay. And let's fit it on there. What I can do is basically just spread it out over the foil. It pays to keep your clay conditioned, folks, and I'm paying the price right now. I should have rolled that a little bit more, but it's working.